know, they're sending the numerous reminders to me on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's Jan.
Actually, why did they get this info? Yeah, I think because you link it.
I'm not linked. They were sending me numerous reminders. Maybe I like it, maybe I opened. And I think they follow who connects to me.
Yes.
Or especially who even, but we are not connected. We are not connected with Facebook.
I think I was mentioned in the picture.
Yeah? Yes. I'm just thinking, so Facebook, either they treat us through connection, or they see that we are 2 meters nearby.
Yes. So how they catch it? That we are...
They know everything. I think, you know the story that, the story and we will begin actually. That the dynamic pricing basically, that's nice stuff. When you go to tickets, air, hotel, so iPhone will be one price, so Lenovo will be other price.
I hate that stuff.
Yeah. So iPhone will be expensive. So what it's about?
No, I don't like this idea.
It's not idea. It's really reality.
So,
something that you.
It's capturing all excess value in the entire economy to like a really small number of people. No extra value can leak out. Nobody can accidentally get a good deal.
so it's more expensive iPhone or?
Try to. I cannot recall which one, but basically, okay. Let me share this case because it really relates to you as an AEDS, but just not a case, but maybe some. You can think through use cases around industry stuff. You can think about AI use cases around business horizontals like marketing, customer analytics, and you can think through some domain like modeling pricing, modeling assortment. Domain, I mean some economic substance. Modeling trips. It could be different. So, in terms of pricing, dynamic pricing is one of the core these type of cases for data science. And I cannot comment about the models if they are prescriptive, descriptive, statistical, self-education. But that's the story when you receive specific price due to a specific set of criteria, and you predict such price or you plan such price. So dynamic pricing is typical stuff for air tickets, railway tickets, bus tickets. The model could be, I'm not talking about simple approach that for Friday and for Monday you have high prices and for Tuesday and Wednesday cheap prices. It's like, no. I'm saying about models that build your pricing based on demand. The higher the demand, the higher the price. So it's real-time modeling, real-time connection to application systems of the vendor, as it's Booking.com or as it's website for to buy railway tickets. And this is a really huge area of application for data science. And these retailers, I know that for Canadian Tire, we were pitching some dynamic pricing in Alex, not me, but my colleagues. And the guy even engaged head of faculty from applied sciences to do a scientific model, like because the guy is like mathematician, PhD, etc., who really do it hands-on. And they created the model, and then the guy in data science was building which databases could be used. This will be from ERP. These two sources will be from web, or these sources will be focusing on components of costs, for example, fuel prices, if it's cars, or gasoline prices, planes. So it's a model you developed and then you test. And retailer also the same stuff. Which price you set on your retail deck or desk. And I cannot comment how efficient it is, how crucial it's but these Ukrainian railways, you see, their prices are changing, but I think they have some linear algorithm, if than else. But I'm talking about real data science approaches. So you can investigate by yourself or sit with someone from industry where this dynamic pricing is relevant, just to ideate your use case.
Okay, so it's back to the future, yeah, back to the bazaar.
Is it? I think Skyscanner is doing that. I think Booking.com is doing that, but they have no information.
In Canada, they're in their physical stores.
But you buy something online, not just through paper ticket, paper stuff.
No, it's physical stores. Like you're in a grocery store and the labels on the shelf are electronic.
All the dealers.
And like on a different day of the week, they're different prices. Like things are changing all the time.
Yeah, but it's more like for all, yeah, for visitors. But here, dynamic price means for you specifically.
Could be for you, could be for them, could be for a specific retail store because of inventory you need to handle.
Yeah, it's
Cost you need to pay
different
for inventory
segmentation.
handling. Let me.
So here it's much more possibilities to
The
segmentation.
dynamic pricing we
I know that in the McDonald's in Canada now, all of
Oh, it's not open.
the menus are
Fan pack.
TV screens.
Mhm.
So they don't have the full menu on it. It's like kind of moving advertisements. There's only a segment of it that's on. And eventually, if you stand there long enough, it'll eventually rotate through everything. But I know that they do menu presentation based on the cell phones that are inside the building. So it is based on like the mix of people who are actually physically in the building.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they track you using that.
So
I think they use Facebook Beacon. That's the technology.
let's talk. It is first Google the stuff in dynamic pricing. I expect that's Ukrainian. Oh my goodness. And when you open dynamic pricing, explain machine learning and revenue management and pricing optimization. And then, yeah, I know that's not the case you expected, given you pre-ready or with data. But in case you are missing that, as of now, you can select industry or use case or which models are interested, read and understand how to match. So, dynamic pricing strategy and key approaches, pricing automation, disadvantages, blah blah blah. Rule-based, yeah. And here we have IBM-based, IBM machine learning, and some examples from data from IBM. There are specific services created, but open question for which industries or whatever. And which use cases are covered, basically. Seasonality, injury, weather, location. The joke is when it's rain, price for your umbrella should enormously go up. Yeah, that's a joke to reflect the reality. Yeah, price optimization, revenue management. So
African people in Paris use this price optimization for centuries.
Joking.
Few decades.
So here's about retailers. Yes, I know that in internet maybe more model exists. Supply features used to develop demand prediction model. Department class color discount whatever. So there is a mathematical model behind that. Maximize revenue given A, B, C, D. And yep, for trips, for retailers, that B2C. Selling pricing models and models. So mathematics, economic substance, what you optimize, what you as per given conditions, and realization, which methods you can use in AI. So how it works. You know, I know that I'm generic here, but my message is, it's at least you can deep dive to basics, and maybe then you can have your use cases in mind, come to lecture and say, listen, give a method for this. Or go to Krakowiecki and say, listen, give me a method for this. And I do believe that he has ideas. Yeah, it course already take place. So dynamic pricing, I think it's like, it's possible. Try to search this one model. So it's like this. Sorry, it's like no guys. So still reinforcement, all the style stuff, but deep dive needed. Definitely we will not cover that now. So coming back to our core topic. We stopped here. Oh. Yep. So, after lunch, what should be done at planning stage? Ideas? Expected project plan.
To discuss.
Share.
People, money.
Money.
People, money, time.
Go money.
We invented new approach, PMT.
Documented.
Make a website, that's more important. One TED Talk, one website.
After lunch task, not to sleep. Draft project plan to extend possible in the nearest 10 minutes for yesterday's case on restaurant application. Split to 2 groups. You are alone or you are split for 2 and 2. I propose to split for 2 and 2 people, persons.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. Otherwise it will be unfair. And if you guys come back, they will join you. Go! 10 minutes. Project plan for
So-
yesterday's case.
To extend the system we were making.
Apply your assumptions. What you're doing. You're developing systems, you're selling a product, you are a vendor who do it for your restaurant in Paris. So, 3 core assumption and project.
Maybe in one group.
I don't understand.
I don't understand. Prepare project plan. For development of IT solution for Paris restaurant.
I'm showing separation.
Yes,
I'll
please.
you and your iPad.
Okay.
No, not one group, please. At lunchtime, after lunchtime need activity. Otherwise you will go to sleep.
Алина, что писали?
It's a simple plan, listen, you experience all.
If you want, we can share this
Yeah.
because it is very.
What to do?
Well, that's okay. Discussion will be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go!
Line thing. So, what to do?
What to do it? Yes, resources, milestones, all that.
What?
You preparing project plan. But in the same times you will say me core assumptions you take to account when you send it out. You're not preparing resources list, that's a hint. Project plan.
It's correct. Yes. Let's assume what assumption.
Like this.
Okay, so we have some kind of background, yeah.
So, I guess generally speaking, I guess what's
Okay, I read it up, so we define scope, yeah.
Which is
There's some backlog.
Please stop. Do you not, just clarification, you are not talking about this particular use case or whatever. Do you remember yesterday task? Paris restaurant need an application for X, Y, Z, and you're preparing a project plan for that project, not for implementation of that use case or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to clarify nice. For the project.
for the project,
Implementation.
which
of-
will include all the use cases, which will cover all the use cases.
Do whatever you can do in 10 minutes.
Usually they're talking about the agile scrum.
Yeah, we will elaborate.
Any examples?
You have 10 minutes to no examples. Project plan. It's your assumption. It's not a challenge. Just think what you need to do
Timeline, yes.
now to prepare project plan and draft it.
We'll do these features.
Special task after lunch, not like this. Just prepare a project plan.
One.
I already did it.
We should develop the target
What's our
of the
goal?
project, correct?
You should develop project plan as our
As milestone, yes, this for that, for example,
But it is to some extent it should be linked with
It is up to you what you manage to
with
do.
yesterday's restaurant.
Yes, that's it. Project plan, project for implementation of IT system for that specific case. Restaurant, need IT system. I'm helping you. You are vendor, you are preparing project plan for the project.
But if you're talking about agile, everything.
You IT vendor, you will develop that. That's assumption I made for you.
Here we need requirements and features, and we responsible for the definition of all these features here within the sprint to have some potential products. So here we can, for example, define also some kind of
Deadline.
beta, that customer
Keep it tested.
can try, then here has some kind of release candidate. And this could be also some kind of phase one, for example. Yes, and we can invest to add some other features, some improvements.
And scale of A/B test.
So where do we need
Team.
So like the team is our team.
And to list which kind of roles.
So you need like a UX guy,
Yes.
you need a program, cars.
Yeah. BA or product owner or business. Actually, in the agile Scrum, his role is also like PM, yes, so he's monitoring. But yes, also we need this our team lead or Scrum Master to facilitate the process.
Я не видел, кто он будет.
It's also QA.
So then you
Who is best?
and is there stuff, like who is the person that interacts with the business? Who's the person who talks with the
So
client?
protocol,
That's the final one.
yes.
That's right, when you said QA. QA.
Usually it's
Very much.
yes. We could have some system architects, like, for example, in those phases to define architecture. Something like that.
Huh? Project plan?
There you go.
Okay. As you say, we are waiting for now
Budget,
6
we
minutes.
can define
Reminder.
also budget per down chart, so that we monitor that money.
Going down.
I think they're not much, but only for progress features, how we look over features, usually burn down is
See how much money you have left.
Yeah.
Then what else then? Further down on the budget side of things. How do you talk to people about what their budgets are? What are the discussions that you typically have?
discussion is mainly it's budget monitoring, so when it's actually this the amount of budget monitoring. So you need to make sure that you don't, let's say, spend more than you plan. Or if you spend, then you have explanations why, or you predict that then okay, then the next sprint I will spend less and maybe some more work was done or whatever.
So what kind of things are we missing? Well, I guess then some kind of some kind of exit plan. So like
Risk management.
sorry, so success. So each like whatever defines.
Certain criteria. identify the risk and to define mitigation plan. So
Plan.
example, we have a risk, that UX girl is pregnant, and she cannot be something like this.
My assumptions.
Good.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
What's like some kind of like alignment,
Like that, we need to plan also communication, we need to define stakeholders. So here in the code we need to separate the stakeholders, For example, who we want to involve into the units, some specific person from customer representative, or from some other departments, who can
We have spots.
make
effective departments.
Also, we could also plan some kind of dependency. For example, if we depend on some other team, and for example, yes, we have dependency like this. So we need to identify and plan the dependencies at this time. We expect delivery from another team. Of course, you can mention a lot of assumptions. For example, we could also plan procurement, like each hardware we need to buy. Yes, that's
So, 1 minute.
it's procurement.
So, who want to be first?
I look forward to your firstness.
Who wants to? Really, who wants?
They're volunteered already.
I didn't see this. I thought you passing this right.
No.
No. Yeah.
We cannot fight against the Scrum Master.
I think it's more than you were certified, not in Scrum Master like methodology certified, not just master.
Well, I'm just certified like Scrum Master, but
He's just as grants.
But that's the one. But just a course. It's course certification to cover. No, that's something else. Some other certification. No.
no, it's covered.
It's covered.
It's covered. If you
So we are master. We know everything.
if you certified Scrum Master, then let's say actually you shall facilitate Scrum process, and teach the team how to follow it.
Okay, so it's through
it's
role. then.
official training. It was some Jeff McKenna, blah blah blah.
Tough certification. Or like-
Not me. It's just $1,000.
Ah,
And 2 days.
and automated tests shared to the audience, or like checkbox because you pay 1,000 and you spend 2 days.
I don't remember. It was a long time
Okay, it was
ago.
not tough. You don't remember?
2012, something like this. I think it was some checkbox that asking some questions and writing something, but not so.
It helps you, or you just legalize what you know before?
It's a little bit helped, But it was, let's say, idea from our customer, yes. So,
Okay. Why I'm asking, I'm not asking for sake of asking if the other audience, if they understand that
To be
some
honest,
particular understand that they want to drive the development of some solution, if it's worth to take for them.
To be honest, not officially, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
quite expensive, yeah. It's okay, more business, yeah. So better go to this mountain goat website, and you will get much more information, and of course then experience, yeah. So only practice can really be done.
Are you talking one moment? You are practitioner in specific engineering project, so for you it's just another like flavor in addition to your 5, 7, 10 years, 8 years. But for the team who never tried, for example, engineering development, but will create their use case or their example of dynamic pricing or whatever, and they have no experience managing 5 years. So
maybe.
will it help, or it will be like?
But maybe it's not official, go to some courses for Scrum, yeah, but not too official, yeah, because it's, you understand, it's just expensive to make some wage on your LinkedIn, yeah, that you, and actually I think you need to pay every year to release that officially.
Yeah.
Subscription model?
Yes.
So yeah, practice is the best teacher. 1, 2, 3. But imagine you need to start from something. What will be my question is so the team understand what will be the better way. Because I had one project and it's quite more than enough. 6 months I understand how it works. Maybe not ideally as you, but at least. But it's not the case when each one can allow this for himself or herself. The firm asking is today's certification can cover the basics, so you're equipped. And you can do some engagement with 3 members around you in the proper engineering. Or it's not. What are your subjective views here?
No, it's okay as a starting point, but for me it's too expensive, yeah, to
Right.
starting point, yeah, so I would select just some other courses, less expensive, but yes, it makes sense, yeah, especially for those who didn't make project management before, yeah, because I already have experience, of course, yeah.
Why I'm asking? Because a lot of methodology is described well, you can read it. And they're bureaucratic, but this team, they're more agile, what I observed from your cases, your businesses maybe. So Scrum is one of the best approaches you can apply for scanning ideas, startup ideations, or solution ideations, IT solution ideations.
Is it like a cool thing right now, or that's it? Like it's...
Yeah, it's a benchmark, yes, it's kind of agile benchmark.
So, good explanation, thank you. Go, present.
We have only 2 assumptions. First, the client knows what he wants. And the second assumption, the client has enough money. So we decided that we will start from the target of the exercise. In fact, we have plus minus the explanation of the business case. I think that yesterday's paper. We will come with Dalina for the discovery. We will try all the issues and we will check all the processes in the restaurant. We define the scope. After that, we go and define deadline, scheduled stages. We define the internal people who can help us. I think it will be chef and manager at least, who will contribute on the process. And of course, we will identify the list of people we need to take from our team. Budget, software, hardware, and HR. And then the governance of the project. We will define the governance of the project. Probably project management will be from our side, but some stakeholders, I hope, will be available from the client side. This is it.
Thank you. And where's the plan itself? It's our approach. Chart.
You're right. The plan is not very detailed plan. Very
Much.
high.
Okay. Okay, got it. Lunch influenced you. I see. Okay, let us hear what second group prepared and sum up based on both options.
Sure. So what is this iPad app that we're going to make for this high-end restaurant that you serve yourself? Scope the project and align it with the business goals, make sure that we have some idea about what we're going to build, what the people want. The who, the team that we need, so some user interface people, programmers, somebody who's a product owner, BA, PM type character, and of course a Scrum Master. Some kind of quality assurance person for the ending portion of it, and a system architect for the beginning. They might not be with the team the whole way necessarily. And then some consideration for stakeholders, the restaurant owners, the customers, affected departments, make sure we have sort of meet them into our who idea. The timeline, no surprise, we're going to use this sprints and milestone methodology. Paying careful attention to know where dependencies are showing up and what those outside contracts might be, and have something in place to manage that. For budgets, some amount of money, where we have a look at burn up, a phrase I've never heard before, which can be explained by the master himself. But most importantly, as some system to monitor the budget on an ongoing basis instead of just monitoring it by getting to the end of pot of money. Risk mitigation plan, so we have a plan for risk and we also have a plan for mitigation. Those are very complex things. And some ideas for what procurement and the hardware side would need to be. And then our plan has the definition for success and some kind of acceptance criteria to end the project and wrap it up.
Thank you. Thanks. Let me sum up. So I think that in your case, you prepared approach what you will expose. So for me, it's like initiation phase that you are thinking through risks. You know your team. So something is already known, like 111 team from 4. Something is you bear in mind, but you still not define the risks. The greatest things in terms of this particular type of project plan that you define, I would say, the approach you are using. So it will be agile and some milestone to control, milestone here, but still there's no plan inside.
Well, but this plan for risk is an actual plan.
Yeah.
Inside this.
It's a concept.
No, there's a plan like this.
It's actually a plan, yeah, because here we know the start date, end date, yeah, of every screen. So
these are specific features.
It's a specific features which team commit for specific, which plan for specific screen here from the backlog. So this is the features. We have these milestones like MVP, data, this candidate, and this is phase 1, yeah, of the project. So there could be some further phases. So this is actually a plan, yeah.
It's just our hand.
But it's a can't plan like in the waterfall, but for the agile, it's a plan.
Okay, so adding up from this team, you did something similar, but without like approach. You did not define it. So it's agile waterfall.
But with assumptions.
With assumptions, yes. But my message for me here, really thank you for thinking this 10 minutes. But these and these could be used for any IT application solution implementation. But we were talking about specific plan for restaurant application, Paris restaurant, you covered yesterday. Feels the difference, yeah?
Yeah, okay, sure.
I'm trying to give like constructive feedback.
Yeah.
So it was intentional, short exercise.
But so in here, so the success of the task for you is if we had written budget, if I had to put a number there.
I would say you written content here. Here. What you are, like, you know the feature from yesterday. You know that you need pay,
Okay.
proceed. So yeah, it was intentionally small amount of time. It was intentional. Maybe you would ask, just 10 minutes to plan. But yeah, after lunch you need to always provocate people because they fall asleep. It's physical condition. So let me rephrase. Thank you for your contribution, but not to be generic. When you have context already, and you have one page of detailed context in your yesterday task, describe the case use case. Let me wrap up and build lessons learned what you just said. So, like this. So, let us go to project planning as a stage and then wrap up based on task, because task was about project planning. So, you were right when you addressed core questions, stakeholders, governance, assumptions. So, here you drafted proper structure, both of you. Definitely not goals or whatever. So basically what you drafted, it's quite right structure, but in real life you need to fill it with real numbers, dates, whatever. And definition itself, thank you. Project plan is, plan is the first course of actions. I like the definition because for me, you can create different plan, but to define what is project planning, the first course of action should be actions. All action if we are talking to one action only. And basically that's the stage when you can do proper estimation. You know that you have some budget, you know that you have some resources, but in reality only after project plan you can calculate the cost. Because when you're doing planning, you understand that there are a lot of different open topics. For agile, yes, you can evaluate 2 weeks, but in reality you need much more so-called evaluation based on discovery, how much it will take, $3,000, $35,000, or whatever, if you are doing an entire project, at least pre-commitment. For waterfall, definitely you need a full price. Main tasks of project planning. Project scope, more detailized. Internal, external dependencies, especially external. Because it's much more easy when you depend internally. But for example, you are doing building, you depend from some certificate you need to go and receive from state authority, and you should clearly state in your Excel or project, Microsoft project or wherever, that you have internal dependencies. I'm not saying about internal, external dependencies. Internal dependencies also is crucial because you cannot start task 3 while task 2 is not completed. So this structural thinking, step by step, in dependencies is crucial. And for me, in real-time example, external one is real crucial. So, for example, I was doing project for one bank in Ukraine, top 10 in PwC, and we had it was more than $500,000 project. We extended it to 1 million plus because the scope extension client was happy at that time. And the trick is chief operating officer set us penalty. 1 week or 1 day, it's 0.01% of penalty from all fees. So we were reasonable that it will be delays, especially if it's some consulting staff. So what we did, we just make some proper plan, and I maintained register. For example, I sent request for information today, I set a deadline in a week, but I received it in 7 weeks. So I was tracking each day because it will cost me as a manager 1%, and my partner in PwC will kill me for that amount of money. If it's more days, it's like 10 days, 10%. Like, wow. So I was planning the stakeholder management from the beginning because I was pushing, I know that I will be pushing COO directly. We will be back on that small, on his mind issues, but I know what are my risks. So what I'm saying here about dependencies, you can estimate internal one, but usually for external, in real life, you need to either set some bench, or you need to legalize why you will be late or whatever. So it's like a spike to engineering, but it's much more complicated for real life projects if you have external parties, without IT or with IT. Duration, stakeholders, contractors, contracting, quality, and some rules. Yes, it's eight puzzles, but I would say maybe not all, but core project plan. And project manager, just a smile one flow. So it is a project, so she's responsible for that. And when we are going now from project planning stage to project plan itself, please read carefully what should be inside, and then we can rehearse what you prepared. Especially last one. So Igor, we did work. We tried to plan yesterday's project on restaurant assignment, how to develop an app for restaurant assignment, and we had two groups who prepared their artifacts, and now I'm giving feedback step by step. Because the structure is great, but content is missing. This content could be applicable for any IT solution development, basically. And project preparation, useful breakdown. So basically for me, as I'm thinking, there are two approaches. You can think through work breakdown structure, I will show you now, or you can think through milestones, or both. So when I'm planning half a year or year project, I define milestones. For example, at the week 1, I will have contract signed. After month 1, I will have, for example, design prepared and approved by the client. I have tasks prepared by myself and approved by the client, all dependencies. Then in month 3, I have like, I don't know, maybe something built or something prepared, a procedure developed, or strategy developed. And then step by step by step. So project plan is about content, first of all. No generic templates or whatever. And if you're a good manager, it is your responsibility to sit and try to do initial lines, XLS or Microsoft project drafting. What you'll be doing, who will be responsible, how much it will take, when it starts, when it's ends.
Sorry, Celeste, that name of a tool.
There is Microsoft project tool. I will show you like this one. Maybe it's a Gantt chart, but in the tool you can set a task, duration, progress, priority, whatever. It's a Gantt chart, that's another story. And there is a duration, and you can link a task between themselves. For example, you are not starting this one until the previous finished, or both of the tasks should be finished in the same time, so-called end-to-end, beginning to end. There are different relations. So I'm starting building walls after I build the foundation, or I'm doing doors and windows in parallel, but I want them completed till day at X. So all this is drafted, and basically to draft the project plan, you need this breakdown. And as I said, there are two ways. Either go through some packages of work and activities. So it's also generic, but at least provide you some structure. The simple one is high level to the highest level possible, I would say so. But at least with context. So what I expected from you, at least this one, but it's not a challenge, it's what you need to draft, have in 10 minutes. But it's still generic. It could be applied for any project where you have design, concept, and marketing. So the devil is in the details, and therefore most project managers use so-called WebS, work breakdown structure. Let me show you an example. Here we go. What is WebS? It's basically content. Let me open. Here, sorry, there's a picture, but to some extent the picture is closed. Yeah. So, get back. Why I need to redo it constantly? So that's a WebS for aircraft. Maybe too complex, but for IT solution it's the same. You need an air vehicle. What is inside? You have training, you have some data. So these are components you need to take into account. For IT solution, could be both phases, like ideation, design, planning, delivery, and control. But to cover substance, you definitely need, if it's waterfall planning, to say, to do feature breakdown. For example, you are doing payment functionality and you have inside A, B, C, D, E, G. You are doing ordering functionality and you have inside A, B, C, D, master data, play, dishes entering, maintenance, warehouse reconciliation. So these are content blocks that need to appear in your project plan. Otherwise, it's not a plan. Otherwise, it's a generic template. So yeah, I know that for Agile it does not work like this. But in business reality, even to solve your business case, you will be saying the detailed content.
I think it's also one of the, let's say, mistakes that everybody thinks that Agile Scrum is without planning. Yeah. So
It's with planning, but maybe the bias is not prepared in details or breakdown structure. All it is.
it's again also not completely true. Yeah, because actually this breakdown structure. Yeah, finally, what you have list of the features. Yeah.
Yeah, it's feature. This is feature based,
Yeah, this is the feature
not
based.
stage based.
The same like you here we look at, so for every sprint already some features committed, yeah, so it's also breakdown structure, yeah, so we have defined scope, so we just, another view, yeah, and also Mike Coney, he also, because many interpret Agile in the wrong place, so there is no design at all, yeah, phase, that it's just go on, yeah, that there is no planning, yeah, so it's not completely true, yeah, so it depends how you use it, yeah, so.
So am I right if I say that here you are done with the task, but here you will split some feature lists, for example, it's payment,
Yes,
ordering,
yes,
so it will be the plan then,
Yes.
and have specific dates,
Yes,
which you are really trying to commit in a
Yes.
month, in a quarter,
yes,
so and responsibles and dependencies.
yes,
So it will be answer for the task you are working this 10 minutes, and it will be enough for initial planning because of the lead time limit, etc. Yours is too generic, but the same feedback would just extend this approach as with content, because when you look at the document here, that or there, it's just generic template that can be used for anything, not just like IT restaurant assignment. So with BS, work breakdown structure is a good approach to not to forget some component. There is a great wiki article. It's dropped. There's a great wiki article which basically says that the core rule is that you need to cover 100 of percentages of all work scope, project scopes, and whatever. Otherwise, it's not work breakdown structure, and you forget something. And yeah, we'll not go to details. But for me, it's project plan, milestones, WBS in the stage breakdown, when the features breakdown is a must. That's the pager you need to prepare at the desk with your team or whatever to make things happen. All other are details, much more detailed. Important one for governance perspective, stakeholders, you drafted what, who, budget, success, but it's overall context. We are talking about really specific detailed project planning. It's a plan that you can send to your counterparties, that you can sign off in contract or whatever. Yes, it's a bit of bureaucracy, but otherwise it's not a plan. Questions, discussion?
Also just want to mention that, for example, in Agile, yes, so they like to have more flat, yeah, structures, also like with the breakdown structure, but they have usually like epics, feature stories, yeah, so this is a 3-level structure, which also allows, let's say, to structure to group functionality, yeah, so it could be epic, for example, for airplane, it could be epic, something like engine, yeah, this epic divided on the features, this features divided on the stories, yeah, and then team plans stories, yeah, within the sprints. So
do you know what's epic stories? No. who,
just,
who,
yeah.
who never met with epic stories concept or whatever? So it's another layout for engineering projects. For example, yesterday you were practicing use cases. So create order dish, make payment. In this other view for Scrum project delivery, that you try to draft entire sentences. For example, as a user, I want to be able to order a dish. That's the user story. It's a story. Like, as a user, I want to be able to order the dish. And then you write so-called acceptance criteria when this story is successful. And also you write a detailed workflow, how it looks like. So user enter the touch point, user see on the touch point list menu, which is drafted in 2 rows, salads and meats, for example. User can tick the box. So detailed steps of user is explained like a process. Why? Because when engineer will be doing coding, he will read the step-by-step description and will code based on that. Otherwise, he will not be able to code. And he needs to feel where user is acting, where system is acting, and where touch point in place. So each click.
I can imagine.
But do you see my mobile?
Walk-ins.
Yes.
Whose is that there?
Oh, thank you. So each click, I can't imagine. So each click you need done, and each response appear on your mobile, on your device. Everything is described in details. Otherwise, it won't be coded. So it's very narrow, and I would say very deep dive work. What error message you will receive if you click on the other screen, on the other button, validation rules, size. So all of these either described in details or drafted in mockups. Yeah, you have some. No. And these are user stories, so-called user stories concept. It's a comparable concept with use case. So yesterday you see use case concept and detailed use case description as an example. These are complete, like another story for Agile when you describe your stories. And you are not using business process description, you are not using high-level stuff. You just took one story and code it. And then when you had set of stories, in an ideal way, you connect them together, but it's another approach. And educate some high level of values you receive based on that. Explain it in simple wording. That's crucial because this is a task setting, and this is basically what is in this presentation. Let me show where it is. It's basically why this BA is needed. I'll show you. Oh, here we are. That's why these team members are needed here to describe specific needs, specific behavior of the screen, specific response of the system. Otherwise, this one will not be able to implement it in engineering code. So yeah, I know that's a bit maybe boring what I'm saying now, but that's the way how business guys with money, with budgets, are connected with those who do things. And usually, a lot of people say, oh, I will be not doing this by my arms. I will hire someone, or it's not my job, it's a key job. That's the hugest bottleneck between business and these guys to make things happen. Therefore, if you want to manage such project or wherever, deep dive to UML we discussed yesterday. It's waterfall or agile with stories and ethics, all of them just mentioned, because that's a bridge that connects ideation with real life delivery and quality assurance. Any questions here on that?
Also, maybe information for the guys that one of the students from the previous MBAI course, he wrote chatbot for good user stories, yeah?
Yeah, and you use it's workable already?
I didn't use it, yeah, but I just, let's say, saw some information, yeah, so I think maybe it was his capstone project, yeah.
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 So actually,
Who was his head of capstone?
I don't remember.
Okay, so he wrote by himself, he coded.
yes.
But chatbot will never, chatbot will review what you prepared, but chatbot will never do this job. Guys. Being translators. You know, in our all the time, or USSR type of university, they were a so-called person who can prepare TZ, technical requirements. So now modern name is BA, a product owner. Tasks shifted a bit to a more project management perspective, to agility, not to waterfall, but substance remains. Which business objective you are modeling, like we were talking about pricing. If it's pricing domain modeling, okay, it's a track which has some space inside, which is running through the roads, which is a transportation task. So it's a business concept that the guys, ladies should cover, and the description of this business concept translated to delivery teams so that they are delivered. And saying this third time today, this is the biggest gap I see from practice from those who ideate and those who do. If you want to do IT application, or you want to do integration, or you want to do whatever, if it's implementation of SAP or Microsoft, etc., that's another story. That's integrator story. You need integrator to do a system setup for you and process advice. But if you want to develop something for your use cases, if it's not definitely Power BI, then you just download and click. You need to think carefully about these roles, and as it was mentioned, it's a CBA certification for business analysts. Or Babook. I think Babook is open book, so if I find it, I can share it to you. But if it's paid, definitely you need to buy by yourself due to copyrights. So Babook, it's easily Googleable as a name, as a concept, but I cannot comment if it could be downloaded. It's so easy. Free of charge, legally, not illegal. So, project plan. Any questions? You understand what is missing?
Yes.
Alina?
Yeah.
So man is serious on that. I see. It's a basic, but listen, if you want to win some financing, if you want to share ideas, project plan is a must. Nobody wants to create it, but it's crucial. So, small touch to PMO, we can cover later today. Big organizations like banks and insurance companies.
Maybe light on?
No.
Break?
Light.
Yeah, please. Alina, можешь?
No light. Better to sleep.
Maybe one line. Yeah, if there is dark, please do. It's not so light. Yeah. Second one. Like second one.
Okay.
Flash.
Good.
Enough?
That is enough.
We started the project, we planned it, but PMO, that's important to have some PMO structure. It's a bit bureaucratic structure, but overall, in most big organizations, you have project management office. It could be structured as a dedicated unit or as a unit or roles to specific, up to the point projects. But usually there's head of PMO who drives approaches, methodologies, basically administrator who is doing administrative job, recording, archiving, guidances, printing, because it's expensive for manager to do some admin. Trips planning, a lot of stuff about. If it's a real project with real physical assets, it's enormous of stuff to be done. And basically methodologies who drive all this approach we discussed earlier, who advise if it will be agile or waterfall, who advise maybe on total budgets or whatever subject to organization governance. Who worked with PMO, who had PMO in their organization. You, Andy? You had PMO? How many people were there?
So it was a big department, including business analysts and project managers.
Okay.
I think that project manager at least 10.
Wow. How many projects in MBAI recorded? Like, so,
Project portfolio.
how many projects?
I would say it is about 30 maybe 50.
50 portfolios or 50 projects?
I say 50 projects. Depends. The table is really big, but let's say the 80% of budget resources consumed by 30 projects.
Okay.
There are small steps, add column, add line. I would not.
50, so that's a huge.
Huge and not efficient.
Why not efficient?
Because of lack, for me, it's my you see, to which extent I'm specialist in project management. But from my point of view, there is a lack of global view, global strategy of the development, system development.
You mean IT system or you mean banking system?
I
Like
would say
business one.
banking system, but mainly data in the heart, I would say, because sometimes to cover 2 or 3 projects, you need to use the same resources, the same data, etc. So I have seen a lot of examples where people, instead of fixing problems in the data, people in the scope of every project, people try to avoid the problem with the data. You know, to build special
Workarounds.
So for you, so majority of that, just to understand, majority of the projects were based on data? Because you mentioned data 2 times, I just wonder. I try to understand.
Every project contains data, no? I mean,
Yeah.
for example,
Even startups, regular grants.
internet banking
Okay.
transactions.
Okay.
Mobile banking, the same. IFRS 9.
Yes, but for example, if it's a new branch network in the region, for example. I'm saying that it could be like.
But it's structural project like this, yeah. There is constantly at least one project like this.
Mm-hmm.
The transformation of the network, transformation of the back office, concentration in one inconvenience, for example, back office for entire bank, etc.
And one PMO managed everything, or it was separate PMO for organizational change, for IT implementation?
It was C-level PMO one, of course.
Okay.
But he has a team of 10 PMOs.
And it wasn't efficient once more because it was.
Because the majority of because when we speak about data,
Okay.
I think we should first of all let's imagine there are 30 data-driven projects in there.
Okay, yeah, internet transactions, cash.
And I would build first of all data warehouse, and something like this. Very quickly build all following projects.
Okay. So it was it was even lack of dependency management between them. Could be this reporting.
Speaking in today's language, yes.
Now we have AWS, Amazon Web Services, wherever data warehouse could be done in clouds. But strictly data warehouse, usually people say that. But if it's bank in Ukraine, usually you need to buy warehouse, technical facilities, energy, lighting, security, backupping, and data warehouse project is enormously expensive if it's proper data warehouse.
Like decided to build it in-house.
Yeah, but anyway, and it will take a long time. Meanwhile, some projects could be done via basic analytics in Excel, some other just basic integrations with help of BA. Why ask this? Because what I observed, there's always a PMO, but there's constant conflict between linear manager who know how to better do, but who are overburdened with operational tasks, and project manager who is too generic to manage something. he is creating templates, whatever, but he's not usually or could be unable to create proper plan because he's not a treasury specialist or he have no idea what is trade finance or whatever. So was it the case for Crédit Agricole? Or maybe in your experience, I'm not asking for Crédit Agricole actually. Or what I'm saying is not.
I understand what you're speaking about. Yeah, I would say it's usual, it's very common situation. Business analyst, usually business analyst comes to the customer, to treasury, to understand how the business works.
Mm-hmm.
And problems in the communication results in the in wrong determination of the outcomes, etc.
Therefore, other than that, PMO, especially head of PMO, is crucial person, and his or her structure is crucial to build proper guidelines. For example, should we go agile, or should we hire a project manager who is ex-treasury guy? So that's PMO is not about the structure that exists, like it's a unit, black box in the organizational chart. It's something more than that because usually through PMO all strategic initiatives are driven, usually, not always. And it's challenging for linear guys to manage projects because they have a lot of things to do day to day and firefighting, as you remember from yesterday. Therefore, PMO is a crucial way to build, if you have not one project but 25, to build something that really enables organization. Otherwise, it's a bureaucratic burden. It's not possible always to do it, but if you understand your needs as a C-level, as a head of function or wherever, you can build it properly. So even when we're talking about the project, so for example, you did these examples, you did these templates, and you missed to add content scope. So it could be project manager who really manages the project, not administered by substance. And project administrator, for example, who helping with something low-hanging fruits or some, how to say, not monkey job, but job that should be not high paid but is recurring. So even simple structure can help save money. This is just example for PM plus administrator, because otherwise you block everything either on line manager, which is one continuum, or some generalist person who is not a content manager and cannot draft a plan. And you also pass a message. You see how I did it. So you learn from your PMO how to do it, or you are claiming that it's still a long way to go to learn for you. What was the message? Because you referred to your presentation.
I said that I'm not a very good specialist in project management. That is why I cannot say you. My impression will be very personal. It's my personal opinion. What happens in some banks with 100 years culture.
Got it. So my message here will be drive content preparation by yourself for issue one, and that's a question, not a question, a message from you, Kenneth, about dependencies. So these are called dependencies: finish to start, finish to finish, start to finish, start to start, start to finish. So this is the most widespread. You start activity B only after you finish activity A. This is a milestone. And these are more complicated, but also possible. It's not so frequent one. And as I said, internal and external dependencies as a must. So usually you have a list with one column with internal dependencies, 1.4 depend on 1.2 and 3, and with external one, and which you cannot estimate or whatever. So it works in any industry, even in public sector. Let me give you an example. For European agreement, for agreement of Ukraine, association agreement of Ukraine. So nobody can imagine that it also can be planned. I cannot comment how it's going on, but for previous Lada or Power, I was working with Ivana Klimpush-Tsintsadze. She was Vice Prime Minister of Euro Integration, and she had a challenge. It was defeat funded job. She had a challenge that huge Euro association agreement and no chance to monitor wherever, whether law is in Rada, in Kadmin, or other place. So as usual, the bureaucratic document you have online, execute directive number N, and then you have 25 responsibles. Cabinet of Ministers X, Policy Y, National Agency Z, and what we did, thanks to donor funding once more, we step in, say, listen, as a PwC advisor together with European Commission advisor, but it was idea from the inside. Listen, let us split this huge agreement for core blocks, not legal blocks, but rather blocks by substance, for example, education, procurement, wherever. Let us set up framework for them that they need to do planning, not just do something, hire responsibles, but really do proper planning. For example, prepare draft concept on Cabinet of Ministers, Minister X. Validate draft concept with other four-letter ministers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Change the concept, specific concept name or whatever. Align this with embassy X, Y, or Z, or whatever. Prepare the law, pass law to RADA, then RADA is responsible. You can evaluate, it could be 3 years when the law is there. But it's fair estimation of reality. Then when law is accepted, for example, instrumental to be developed. So definitely we were not expert in education or in energy or whatever. Therefore we engaged some associates who were working for ministers level. It's not from our side, but rather from Ivana Klipu's side. But it's a matter that we were not planning, but we provided to them proper framework how they should plan. Yeah, plans were not ideal, but they were better than just a plachta in Ukrainian, plate of nothing, which cannot be measured, estimated, or whatever. Yeah, I'm not talking about deadlines, whatever, but sometimes even template matters, and this stuff matters. Otherwise, you put a bench, you put bullet point, you say to do something, and it's like nobody is responsible, you cannot estimate, you cannot say that it's a spike, because I'm the minister or he is the minister, but RADA can think for years. You know, Verkhovna Rada is a political body, and it's a challenging public sector situation, but what it brings more clarity for Vice Prime Minister how she should drive, what she should prioritize. We also did with them, not Excel, but small Drupal tool. It's very expensive, very cheap tool, not a nice application, but when you can do it in Excel and download for dashboard, and you can monitor like green, yellow, or red, or whatever. So it works, but content matter. So framework matter, we created the framework, and in order to create content, prominent youngsters from other ministries were involved, so they can split this article from association agreement to pieces. The idea was that system should be open for community, not just for ministers. That period of time it was banned because it was 3 years ago, even 4, because everything was like red. The idea was it will be moderation tool between Ukrainian association and EU, and then it will be open for community. Something was implemented, something not, now powers are changing, but the concept you are saying, you're trying to lay down, it really matters. In business, the same approach. In KSC, the same approach. In small business or medium business, the same approach. You create framework, but you can engage someone who can create content for you, like BA, if you have challenges to do it now, or whatever. But the more puzzles you can cover, the better for your business or your startup. Break. Good. Let me open slide 1 and ask for a question. So we covered project initiation and project planning. Next steps is
Project finish.
innovative dreams, project implementation. So what is core here?
Execution.
It could be different. Remember this huge domain from everything, any processes are.
Monitoring. So maybe we need to monitor
Monitoring of what?
progress.
Okay.
Whatever the goal is, the business goal.
Yeah, but you need to monitor school, build up, build down, how it's shipped. Okay, budget. So all this stuff.
So all triangle parts.
All
not only for me and from experience of colleagues and wherever, that's true, that's day-to-day, must. It's like operation activity inside the project. But definitely it's a risk monitoring and change management also.
Impediments management.
Which one?
Impediments.
Impediments, obstacles.
Obstacle, okay. So sorry. Obstacles, yeah, it happens. But what is really crucial is risk management and change, in addition to, as I say, for day-to-day, change management. Why change management here is so crucial?
People don't like change.
Because there is constant changes and we are managers.
I like your stories. No, because this is a simple stuff I said.
It's scope.
Yeah, it's like you are here, you plan to be here to achieve something, but in reality, yeah, maybe that's right. You're adaptable, maybe that's needed. But in reality, something here, for example, is needed, and then something else. So, not to lose a big picture because you are too focused on operations, especially when delivery is done not by those who are doing business case, who understand the purpose, etc., etc. So, if delivery, what and how is done by people who are not thinking through why. It's great if your project manager or you are ever thinking through why, what, how. But in reality, why could be forgotten, business case could be forgotten. If there are no proper procedures and controls, you're just developing something. That's a trick, an issue Ukrainian companies who is doing some service for foreign countries have. Because sometimes business cases there, you have no idea what they're trying to achieve, and they send you just a piece of work to do. That's one story. So it's inherent risk. But you need to be in mind and do as much prudent as possible. At the same time, if you are doing a project for your own, for enterprise, for business, you could be a CEO who drafted the business case, his ideas, maybe who implemented it. A project team could be middle managers and below who are just doing something without clear view. So proper governance, how to manage this day-to-day to achieve outcomes is important, because usually people could think I will prepare outputs and I'm done, but that's not the story. So the same relates to risk management, as timely risk and issue management. Risks and issue are two core pillars, and each process, it's simplified process, because in the waterfall approach, risk management will be risk management, having risk management planning, risk management managing, risk closure. I'm simplifying it here, just risk management. It's presented in each phase, but I try to present, I did it from project implementation, because from experience, it's the core area when risks happens. Yeah, you cannot get a loan to finance the projects. It happens, it's risk, then it became an issue, you stop. But here it's more about your risk registers, as I said. If you received information, if a vendor didn't block for you part of the solution you are waiting, dependency management is about dependency, but risk management is about risk management. So which steps are inside the risk management process? Could be risk management planning, could be not. At least you can define up to 2-3 risks which are core for you, which should be on your radar, each process cycle. Risk identification, analysis, quantification, closing, all the stuff, and escalation. That's important. I have a trouble. Where to run, to whom to call. It will be too early to do it when you already have trouble. Or you still have no troubles, no issues. You have just risk. It's whom to consult. Who is responsible for that? If organization is small and agile, that's okay. But if it's huge, that's not okay. So you need to draft some procedures and understand which areas are dependent. For example, it's corporate lending, credit lending, or it's facilities versus transportation. So-called geography or area of risks. So please go through these 5 areas as examples, and these are really different, and you can structure risks as follows. External resources, for example, no vendors to do something. So this really different. These are more to enterprise-wide levels and to some startup level. But if enterprise is not able to manage in such different areas, that's bad, because it's a rush and a lot of trash happening around. Ideally, it's done through PMO and their guidance, and PMO consolidate status and vision from each project manager, in some automated way, in some shared files or project management tools. So project management tools is separate IT tools that usually could be free of charge, paid, SaaS solution, in-house solutions, anything. But usually they should be in place if you have more than like 20 projects wherever, otherwise you are blocked with your Excel spreadsheets and you are not flexible at all. Simple matrix, risk assessment matrix, because you could not, you couldn't manage everything. That's not possible in real life. Too much of everything happening. So you can create some risk assessment matrix for you. It could be different. It could be subject to two classical dimensions are impact and probability. This is classical dimensions. But you can change it. For example, some money versus geography of your locations, or type of business if you manage group of businesses, type of services, wherever. That depends, subject to your context, as I said, and subject to your needs. But definitely the reason why you need some metrics and evaluation, you could be done on project level, portfolio level. You cannot pay attention to everything. You need to understand what is crucial and high risk for you, or for your team, or for your department, or for your business. Granularity depends, as I said. One and business-wide, wherever. Metrics also can be changed, but these are core, simple, basic, understandable by everyone. Could be soft, not quantifiable. When we are talking about some complex risk management for big projects, there's also a case for data science to be in place to evaluate some risk, do some calculations, do projections, because it's not always about something, well, which is why I always try to extend, not to duplicate. Strange. Some settings from guys here to prevent not to show what is on your laptop. 5. Sorry. Sorry for that. So, make a matrix, and it's a simple stuff. Example from some project, but same type one. Escalation. Document to whom the person can escalate, if he or she see risk. Question so far: who did project risk matrix anytime?
Not project.
Portfolio?
Just matrix.
Just matrix. You only, huh? Yes?
Yes, I do.
What was about that matrix? What was inside? Sorry.
Impact, probability. So.
But for which context? For project, for account, for client?
For project, we many, let's say, project based.
Who fielded? Who was responsible for that?
Who is in PM role?
So PM, not the team as a whole.
Currently, with agile approach, so actually yes, it's communicated with the team. Yeah, so it's teamwork. Yeah. All the planning is a teamwork. So let's say anybody from the team can raise flag. Yes, that okay, we have this risk.
And in your case, you escalating to client, you escalating to your boss, to you, they escalating to you. How escalating works? So you have matrix, and so what?
Escalating works that we have again. If you're talking about the current approach with agile, it's so-called impediments. Yeah, so during the execution, there is no, let's say, risks already, but already impediments, which let's say obstacles for the team to achieve their sprint goal. Yeah, so they raise flag to the Scrum Master. Yeah, then Scrum Master is responsible to communicate it to the Scrum of Scrum. Actually, you can treat it as a PMO. Yeah, Scrum of Scrum.
Yeah, for this case,
and then in this Scrum of Scrum, there is management, head of development. Yeah. And it's his responsibility. So if a team couldn't, let's say, solve it, Scrum Master cannot solve it, Scrum Master escalated to the Scrum of Scrum, and then head of development shall resolve it. Yeah.
So it's more internal escalation. You're not escalating to client. It's like escalation from lower level of delivery guys to higher level of delivery guys.
Scrum of Scrum. This is our customer.
Scrum. I saw it as
yes, it's lead by our.
So you have mixed model.
Yes, because customer has a lot of team, including our team. Teams. Yeah, so they have the Scrum of Scrum. It's in Germany, whatever. Yeah, so they and head of development from our client.
And they come then to your head of engineering, or to you, yep, or to their head of engineering.
To the Scrum Master.
Scrum Master. Yeah. Okay, that's typical. That's a great example for engineering. And good that they have a Scrum dedicated role for that. And in my cases, which was not engineering, when I was managing some project or portfolio, usually you have content responsibilities to make things happen, team responsibilities, and all this escalation planning, which you can do by your own or with a team. So you need to decide if you want to do it by your own or with a team, because something should not be communicated to the team. For example, weakness inside the team, or high risk vendor. So it's also important to take into account the context where you're working and to whom you need to communicate and what. But for huge organizations with different layers, definitely some escalation approach exists, because not everything can be fixed on the project manager level. For example, this area is not so simple stuff, and if you have something that is, for example, external risks, organization-wide risks, which you identified, you should escalate program management board or some even supervisory board. That's simplified view, but it's how you can mix areas. Oh, I think that's error. Sorry for that. And importance of risks. Yeah, you could be asked to maintain some documentation, so-called risk register. So you have process, usually formal or informal, some core artifacts, and some documentation where you register something. Either change management, risk identified, issues identified, this miscellaneous, I forget English word you name. So usually it could be done. I took public one example, which was available, not to put some sensitive information here. And so basically there's the owner, dates, whatever. Anything you consider as required, or anything project management office considered as required, if you have methodologies inside. And also the good way to share knowledge is produce some impact probability for a broader context, It's an example of risk assessment matrix. Or another story which I've seen in consulting, when you have some typical risk for typical projects, and these are really typical. For example, one industry, second industry. So you create some guidance so people not, create them. What can be at risk? But they know by default through internal knowledge databases that it could be a risk for such specific type of project. That's important because you create this once and you can share for 5, 10, 50 people, 100 people, or you can share it globally if it's specific CapEx project or whatever. So always trying to find something where you can have a synergy or what can be reused by others if this organization is huge. That's important. Another important topic in during implementation, except of already discussed, is basically monitoring and controlling finance, plan fact, how much it costs, how much we plan to spend, how much we spend, that's the core. Oh, we are spending fairly, are we frauded, any frauds around it? So the same what we have in day-to-day operations for finance, the same is for controlling finance in project management. Any knowledge, any experiences you have with projects and their financing and the monitoring of that? No? It was easy?
It shall be monitored.
Yeah. One interesting piece here is how you recognize cost incurred and revenue earned in project stuff if you are a vendor for that, but that's separate standards, finance stuff, and it's also important because sometimes you need to set up specific execution rules, how to recognize what you earned, what you spent, which is important because you need to do it before you start, otherwise you are lost between you and your accounting department. So sometimes it's inherently built, but sometimes you need not to forget to do it, because when you remember it now, it will be too late. Maybe you need some invoicing infrastructure, cash reconciliations infrastructure, whatever, that depends. But that's important. I selected just few puzzles, not all, but I selected what I consider important, not to forget. So just to sum up for execution, the topic on execution, that you can draft some execution process at high level, but that depends, especially when, as I said, people who planned the project, who ideated, were different from those who delivered the project. So you can draft some simple picture, why they're going there, why they're running there. How can we remember to say to our team, don't forget about the outcome. That's core. There's a really, I would say, in most cases, there's a really huge risks if you have broad teams. Not to mix what you want to do versus what you're really doing day to day. Sleeping? No? Maybe we should open one window at all. Is there any window open? No? Yes? I think it's hot.
The experts. You can see this organized.
I think it's you seem to be going through flashbacks of a job that you no longer have and you no longer seem to want. All this stuff.
Yeah.
Did you look flashbacks?
Well, no, I mean he doesn't work there anymore, and that's probably on purpose.
Purpose? No, I'm not doing this on purpose.
No.
Flashbacks is all important.
I find it amazing. So these tables, these documents, like people actually use these things. These exist in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a simplified one.
I recognize it.
Yeah, but
Especially when you know that auditors will come to audit your project, and then in this case, you know that they will check the availability of some of artifacts that the project should deliver. And this is the first artifact they will look through.
Really?
Yeah.
And another piece of reality, that you know that the project will fall and somebody will be named guilty. And not to be guilty, you should keep all this.
To protect your ass.
Yeah.
But these are used because of the scale. How much people do you have in your business? If it's a secret, do not answer, please.
It's 25 people,
24.
and it's a secret.
It's a secret.
Don't tell me.
So I think it's about the quantity of people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To some extent,
Yep.
it's not feasible. Not.
Oh, this is just a world I have absolutely no experience in.
These are
Fascinating. Horrifying.
in slides. I would say these are very simplified examples. In real life, it's much more complex one. Listen, I'm not talking about agile where we do, with all respect that we have a lot of DBS or whatever. But modern IT projects are like, open edge, on the edge by people who just graduated from some universities, who are ambitious. There's a lot of projects who are not delivered by someone who is ambitious about them. A lot of projects delivered by people who are not motivated, but they should do something. It's another angle. From the other angle, scale. If you have some set of headquarters, multinational business, any Philip Morris, Kraft Foods, any company, they will not be able to manage, and they will not be able to leverage. The core business, the core for them, they implemented SAP in China. They know they have 3 years of errors. If they not do it proper in other 5 countries nearby, they will do the same error as they did in China. And for multinational business, these policies, procedures, even high-level ones, is the core that bring all them together. Even for consulting companies, we are agile in terms of doing our projects, but anyway, it's compliance-based. Client acceptance procedure, engagement acceptance. So, for example, I need to prove for entire network that I'm accepting proper client to serve, and that I'm accepting proper project to do. It's not about project management, but at least about documentation. So this is like tons of documentation. What if client is New York list, stock exchange listed? What if client is there? So it exists, and it's quite complicated in the majority of cases. As an example of typical business documentation, you can, if you are from smaller businesses, and you can go to any audit report, which you can Google, for example, from New York Stock Exchange, and see how many puzzles they disclose about their organization just from accounting purpose of view. In Ukraine, there's still I would say, weak corporate governance culture, and it's still an enormous field to be built. Plus cultural stuff, if you can trust your employees or not. Fraud prevention, fraud detection, all these puzzles in Ukraine you also need to think over what you document and how you document. Plus, if you want to, for example, gain extra financing in the future, maybe it's not needed for now, but potential investor will be looking through the entire ecosystem. And if you're not able to prove that you are diligent, transparent, and up to the point you will lose a competition or investor or whatever. So yes, it was a broad answer for your question, but yes, that exists. In small businesses, like you're doing the job, you have accounting to comply with tax authorities, and you're done. But overall, it's not so easy. For example, even KSCA, you can imagine how many documentations they should do for Ministry of Education or whatever. So, Alina, it's like, do you work in Ministry of Education on some issues or no?
Yeah, we have many documents regarding the accreditation process, and it's
Like,
Uh-huh.
So, even here. So, it's like it works. Brief summary on control. So, I was stress some attention on all these 4, 1, 2, 3, 5. Control is here. So, as I said, here's a slide. Benefits management versus monitoring. Well, if you are going to the right direction, monitoring, identification, monitoring could be done as a part of core delivery, could be done separately by someone independent, like internal audit. Depends. Here is change management. I forgot to add to previous section. So this is a process. When you initiate, create, document, and implement the changes. In small projects, it's agile, but in big projects, it's typical stuff. Change register, for example, roles, who initiate the change, who is responsible for change analysis, a subject matter expert, feasibility study, who is responsible for change implementation, who approve a chunk of change requests. It exists. Definitely, it's more about waterfalls and agile, but how it works, especially in huge holdings of that.
But I think even there is separate course in MBT program.
Will be.
To be honest, I don't know what can you learn 3 days here
For how long?
for this course. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And here it's just one process inside core process management. There it will be change management that relates to organizational transformation. Then you need to plan the change, to force the change, to change the culture.
Maybe it's connected with some
So it's not change
business cases.
It's
or
connected more to transformation of something big. So Joachim Benz, he was leading transformation for a retail company, yeah, for 3 or 5 countries. He is a teacher for that course. This course was requested by the students. It was not originally in the program. I took it as a smaller part, but students said we want change management course. We see that it's a core we want to cover, and that's their desire. And when we were talking with a potential teacher, yes, he said he knows what to give to people. People motivation, how you engage, how you psychologically understand others who are resistant to change. It will be part soft, part technical. So more soft than technical. Not about change management procedures. It's easy to do. But how you can enable change through all this. It's up to Joachim. Let me open. It's about change existing. About such much more complex level than just one project. About something built for all. We will see, it will be first time. Students ask, we go на зустріч. We say okay, and we exclude the blockchain course from core, and let us see, it's still experimental. It's their request. I think majority of them asked. They have maybe pains, and why they ask this. In their day-to-day reality. Let me come back. Change management. Yep. So, but that's that's not an easy stuff with change management. Sometimes even in small application development projects, my McKinsey experience that head of engineering has one idea, head of their boutique. McKinsey acquired boutique who draft IT products, craft products. And but McKinsey also has partners who drive business practices. And KPIs in these two guys are different. What head of the boutique should do and what head of partnership for practice. And basically for entire initial months, they're changing their minds, not even each week, almost each day. But at the same time, you have contract, which also is your limitation. At the same time, you have team of engineers. You drafted something, you scoped something, you did a plan after sprint for 2 weeks, and this change 3 times a week. Your engineering team after month 1, it's like, what? I do not want to do that project. So change management is much more about just add this feature, remove this feature. It's about how you manage your client or your vendor or whatever. Say yes or no. It's about how you manage your team to be in shape. It's about how you register everything, otherwise you will be lost in translation. So to pass the project to another lady, I spent 1 month doing wrap-up, educating her just to pass one small piece. So it's also change management, but from the other perspective, from team change. So all these are changes, just for one IT application. If you are stable environment, you're done. But if you're not in stable, you're not done. That's change management. Context, like that.
Yeah. Just curious, what can you, let's say, teach you the techniques for this? Yeah, just some common sense things about commitments, about communication. But, okay, just
You can split
curious.
huge elephant to smaller elephants. You maybe cannot teach or educate others what you should do.
But it's a common approach. You can apply it. To
Guys, do you agree it's common approach and so visible for you? It's easy for you to...
No.
Yes? For all. If yes, no, I'm okay. But don't be too over optimistic because you are not during the day you're not doing just in change management.
Planning, yeah, it's again, you have big elephant, you make pieces, yeah, estimated pieces, yeah. So
The story is that you need to be able to understand which potential pieces this elephant has. So you are able to manage these potential 5 pieces. If you are not able to split this elephant potential, like stakeholder, dependency, timing, budget, you are not able to manage because you are losing context. That's my approach. You cannot educate someone to be a project manager like this, but you can educate the proper structuring and proper intentions. Listen, there are 5 phases. Listen, there are 25 processes, but think over risk management, change management, issue management, that core risk. That's how I see it. You can challenge me, I'm open.
okay. Thank you.
Right. Reporting. Depends from requirements, but it's, I would say, вишенка на торте. Cherry on the cake, yeah. And usually that's something that you are doing to show project results, progress, status to others. It should be very executive level to extent possible. It should cover content you need to cover. And it's help you to build some communication channels with not just saying I'm done or I'm okay, but with proper messages you want to pass. Either we are okay or we are green, yellow, red. Don't forget to whom you need to talk to. What you need, where you need to inform about significant problems, where you need to fix by themselves. And these are typical users for reporting. That depends. So, could be CSR or whatever. Could be that no project reporting is prepared, but in enterprises that's not the case. You need to store for auditors, you need to wrap up for yourself, even one proper slide for numerous projects could be a status. It should be very substantiated, substantiate based, and any details could be added. Some progress, some dashboards, or whatever. Could be automated, could be semi-automated. I also took this from open source, not to provide something confidential. And that depends from project PMO rules you have inside the organization. Who did project reporting? Everyone? Not nobody? Never ever?
I did.
And how you reported in banks? Like, are done? Not done?
No, very similar with this table.
Very similar. So you know everything.
I didn't report myself, but I have seen tables like this a lot.
A lot.
Milestones and key risk,
So you have it reported.
red, yellow, green, of course.
So they would actually shall report to the PM so it's usually.
That's simple stuff. One example, you can find hundreds, thousands. But that's also real. It exists.
I was always involved with budget issues, of course. I mean, not on the at the beginning of the project, of course, but also on the follow-up of the project, because sometimes it's very difficult to isolate expenses, especially internal resources between projects, business as usual versus projects.
So it's a message I passed earlier. So you need to set up proper finance accounting system or money tracking system to do it if you need it, because it will be hard to collect after you understand that you need it. You need to rehearse like 5 months of your work. Is that invoice to here or to there? It's a huge amount of work to be done. So you need to create these reporting approaches, what you account, how you account, how much it will cost. So for a service-based company, it's inherently built, like rates, staff, billing. But for those big businesses like banks, enterprise, factories, you need to set up some, ideally you need to set up some system, otherwise you are lost in translation. Plus you cannot evaluate if you're in budget or not. So it's about high-level governance in the organizations.
But it makes sense, because if you are able to allocate the internal resources by the project, then you can capitalize. Put it not on expenses but in capex. And then amortize during the life. Start to amortize it.
Financial person. You are talking through CFO lens, yes. How to you pointed out on another topic how account so that your company in the end use it properly, tax planning properly. I'm not talking about tax avoidance or whatever, and use it properly for assets accounting. Yes, capex accounting, opex, amortization. That's another story. Usually project management doesn't care, but finance department and business owners care because that's money and that's about percentages, tax loss and lost, etc.
Yeah, but it is also important for project management also. I mean, in my experience, because for example, when there is a study what to do to buy the core banking system, for example, or to develop it internally, the IT guys, local IT guys, 100 people in the bank, says, of course we will do it for €1 million. Come on, we will do it for 500,000.
Option
Okay, let's do it. So you capitalize the intangible asset, and after that you can compare it.
Yep, that's true. You are surprised it's so complex, or you are?
No, it's all super interesting.
Yeah, so it's not relevant for your business thinking through capex, opex, capital investment, operational investment.
Not hugely. There's not a large difference between how things are taxed for small and medium-sized businesses, because the government doesn't want to put the burden of making people do all these recapitalizations just to just all tax basically the same.
Okay, great. That's an issue.
Yeah, so because otherwise you just waste money moving stuff around just to get a better tax rate. So and my business, it's almost like 20 years ago we borrowed money, but everything else is being financed out of operational money. So
okay, yeah, it's really flex because in Ukraine you need to think, I would say, so up to 5 accounting lenses. So substance, authorities, management accounting, group accounting is a huge group. So I can imagine you all accountants were under you.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you enjoyed. IFRS also?
Yes.
Okay, my gosh.
IFRS, tax.
IFRS is International Financial Reporting Standards.
The group. So already formed.
Group accounting is all more or less IFRS accounting. The IFRS accounting currently is
I had key IFRS.
close to Iranian tax accounting. So start comparing.
But it could be different. Even you can have US GAAP and IFRS. It's different.
Why US GAAP? US GAAP you only need if you are listed in New York or whatever? Or
I'm
some
saying
other
that
company
you need to
or
set up it.
such?
Once a company listed.
And usually ERP system does not support your local account. You need to create some приблуда.
Why? No.
Ah, you're optimistic.
Igor knows everything, you know?
Huh?
You see, Igor knows everything.
Yeah, I know.
In all the organizations,
Stop complaining.
yeah. That is why we love Igor.
He can. It's mindset.
Everybody likes to work with Igor, you know?
It's a consultant approach, mindset. I can do it. Then, if you have an issue in 3 months, you think, he was saying, complex challenge. And Igor said that's possible. You go to Igor. That's our strategy.
Everything is possible. Yes.
Yeah. So, coming back from this a bit practical, bit philosophical discussion, yes, possible, and that's okay for smaller piece of information or scope. But for project stages, it's not so easy. I don't think it's easy, because usually how it happens, it's easy for you, but it appears it's not easy for 5 guys near you. It's not easy for other 5 departments where you're working. It's not easy for entire other company which has completely other view of their picture. So yes, it's easy if it's one person. No, it's not easy if you need to align tens of persons. That is true. So that you are not sleeping, small task up to 10 minutes. What should be done when you do project completion? Take yesterday case. You developed IT solution for Paris restaurant.
Go to budget.
Please, two teams, up to 10 bullet points, go.
So what do we do?
What should be done in the project completion phase for your yesterday project? Development of solution. Go.
Go.
2 teams, please. That's a tiny task, but need to wrap up in some time.
Якщо робити рахунок.
That's all you're writing now.
So you're done? Going. Going to you? Who will be first one? Okay. Alina, do you want to?
Compare.
I think that when you compare outcomes with expectations,
Good, very good.
and the same for budget,
Excellent one.
You need not get I think that somebody should confirm that the project is successfully finished. So some kind of user test or final acceptance from the customer.
It's important. UAT is very important.
What do you need?
User acceptance test, especially for IT systems. It is yeah.
So in documentation guidelines, very important to make it an asset.
Okay.
And the gap analysis to compare I mean, this is like работа над ошибками.
Okay.
What happened during the project, what is the deviation versus the plan, why it happened, what we can do in next project with this deviation.
Good. You open with your client, all stakeholder, not just sharing what was done and how actually, but you are sharing also lessons learned. Great.
We didn't have the party because we have for sure this team. They didn't get it.
It was in my mind, yeah. No, where's the party? Yes, thank you. This, especially initial 3 is crucial. All are important, but initial 3 are crucial for sure. And you added specific context for IT solution for us, which is great. And wow, that's what we learned.
So, right after project completion, first of all, we want to tell the story about our lessons which we learned about, what was the budget of the project, how we managed to perform better, save some money, what were the outcomes of the projects, what were expectations. We also decided to perform gap analysis at the very beginning. We also deliver final documentation. So basically, within the project, there will be a few pillars. So just to have all files closed and the final assumptions and calculations to be there. And in such a way, we form our knowledge base. Then we also have acceptance testing and handover meeting, basically to deliver the report of the project. We also make an announcement about the completion of the report of the project to the broader team, to the whole organization, to let everybody know how it works now, what is basically the outcomes, what is the positive effect, and we also recognize the contributors of the project and their influence and confidence. We also train the trainer, so to make sure that we have a force to make everybody use the outcomes of the project properly. We happily take the bonus. We open champagne and we drink and pitch next project.
Good. I think you included a lot of and ensuring voices. Finance. What do you see? What you think? Good. Any comments between each other? So, what is?
No comments. We know who are the winners.
Next time I will set up criteria to evaluate who's the winner. Like the winner is.
That's fun.
And take some book. You're right. Wrap up and trainer and pass for IT specifically. Not enough just to do and pass. If you are doing solution and you are responsible for entire ecosystem, you need to train. What happens in reality for IT solutions? You do your IT. Client was on New Year and Christmas holidays. I had this story now. Not myself, but my team members on the project, which was so UAT was like done, so it works. So it was end of December, and now clients start from January real usage of the solution, and lots of stuff around. Repeat as the system bugs or functionality bugs. Investigation is needed because if it's bug, you need to understand if it's were in requirements. If the requirements were detailed enough, all the storage engagement models, who is responsible for what, who is responsible for business requirements discovery, to which extent they are documented, detailed, not detailed. And if you are a good vendor, client expects that you will fix it for your own cost. But you can handle 1 week, 2 weeks, or whatever, just to be proper.
Warranty.
To be proper vendor. But then it could match for 1 month of additional work after UAT in IT systems specifically to extend something. So in our current case, we did something for free in January, not full time, but for February, we were in a tough position. Say, listen, it's extra money. Definitely, we are not saying this directly, like extra money, pay, we will do. But you need to substantiate, communicate. So in this case, project wrap-up is crucial. So you said this milestone, I'm done, we've done, legally, financially, whatever. Extra, as you said, pitch extra, please pay it for us. Because client usually try to push you saying, you should do it for free, you are a bad vendor if you are not providing me proper resolutions. So it's always a politics, it's always a money deal, a trade deal. So wrap-up is crucial to be to close all gestalts in Ukrainian. And not to forget about the core dimensions, which are the following. My battery is running low. Sorry. Sorry, I tried to remember this.
No, it's just funny. Only one of those words is not English.
It's not English.
Shift. F. Yeah.
It's not working.
No?
I do apologize.
And maybe it's some connectivity issues.
Maybe it's
Would we let your engineers check
there we
next
go.
time that it's connectivity is good. Bam. Okay. What's that? Yeah. So, assess benefits, confirm acceptance, document, ensure open risk and issues. You mean that in your exercises, open risk and issues are documented and transferred to proper authorities, because wrap-up also can be not so nice, shiny, and definitely benefits realization. You start from that, and you also mentioned that in the acceptance, knowledge-based handover, which bullet include benefits realization in your case?
Outcomes.
Benefits realization is another, it's synonymous to outcomes. Which bullet?
The first one. The
Lessons
lessons
learned?
budget, outcomes.
Okay, outcomes of that. So, benefits realization is synonym. Some people use benefits realization concept. It's the same by substance. Some process, if you are rigorously regulated through PMO, what you need to do. Sometimes it's like a lot of boxes documented within the organization, which step you should do, tick box, now go to database, go to archive, especially for public bodies or for the institutions that is heavily regulated. And sometimes also report on completion is needed, with clear assessment of all impacts, analysis. So that's a piece auditors could step in, because it's something that you prepared for as a wrap-up. So there is no need to go through entire several months project to understand what was there. They can just take a report and understand easily what was done, what was the topics, etc., etc. And definitely, post-audit, it's here. Post-audit could be cross-audit between the teams. Post-audit could be from methodology office for outsourcing, for example. Usually there are separate offices who do audits. Why? Not to do an audit for the sake of audit, but team step out, run to another project, and this audit is not like a control to be beaten or whatever. They see what was wrong, where huge inefficiencies were in place, so the following teams do not reperform that. So it's about internal efficiency, performance improvement through entire organization. When you can do audit in order to mitigate some cost excessiveness risks for future projects. But it's for hundreds, thousands of organizations. In software in Alex, I know that there are such approach to do post audits. Basically, you can give fair feedback to the team, to project manager. In such cases, you achieve that competency of your managers increase because they receive independent feedback, and you extend knowledge base, what lessons learned should be applied to following projects. And basically you are measuring. We start from this. You mentioned that a lot of projects is unsuccessful. Is this a successful or unsuccessful project? Some criteria, but you could define yours. A lot of projects are completed, but a lot of set of them are not successful. Even if they are done, completed, finished, wrapped up, documented, bonuses taken. But if people are happy, if organization achieve its goals, that's up to benefits realization, outcomes measurement. That's a bit another story, but I would say it's like a core when you are going to deliver a project from day one and you want to wrap up, you should be fair with yourself if it was okay or not okay, and what was done okay and not okay. I think that's all in terms of core stages, core processes, questions. In very condensed manner, just half a day plus 2 sessions, so 1 session. So I try to be as much pragmatic as possible, taking into account scope and examples and whatever. Questions, ideas, coffee.
Champagne.
Whiskey.
And promotion.
So break, 10 minutes.
Okay, sure.
So let us start last session. Two. One more. I think it went well. So we finished successful project. Is it end of the story? Not. We will cover a session to wrap up on PMO and project manager and even much more on that. Trusted advisor concept. This concept is from, it's related for separate session, but I would like to share. Usually in Ukraine, especially in Central Eastern Europe, all our services that we provide for mature market, we are vendors from more than that. Because of mindset, cultural issues, good governance is not great. I mean governance from company code perspective, compliance perspective. So there are so-called trusted advisor concept, and I will share it with you. And there is a book by David Meister. David Meister writes a detailed concept how it works to become advisor for your client, not just a vendor, services from you, money to you, but much more than that. So as per this concept, you could be evaluated if you're a vendor, client, if you're a subject matter expert on the following scale. Depth of personal relationship you have with your counterpart. Just formally met with procurement manager, a meeting with procurement manager, or really advice to C-level what to do and how to do, and breadth of business issues. And based on this level, you usually start from vendor, then you develop more valuable relationship, and you become trusted advisor. Why that's important? Because the amount of fee you can charge, usually just doing what you are set to be done, it's cheaper, like typical outsourcing. If you're advising, your rates are higher. Here I'm sharing more account management examples from, for example, IT industry or Big Four consulting industry. So, as I said, what if you step into IBM premises saying, I have a problem, please help me to fix? It will be such amount of money. If you step to IBM saying, I have Kazaa, please help me to embed your services, it will be a much smaller amount of money. So it's how this relationship, how to build such relationship. There is a specific table by David Meister. Let me open the table. So here we go. I usually use a table to educate my teams, to share to my employees what they can do better, or what they should not to do. And in that table you have service-based relationship. There is an answer for question, and there is like client receives information and time, high quality response. It could be, for example, some requirements management document, or it could be custom code, wherever. In needs-based relationship, you resolve clients' problems. It's much more than just be a vendor, because you think through not just expertise input, like engineering input, but through business problem fixing. For example, which new data science use case can my VP of retail apply? And if you are IT company, you just wait into tasks, nothing will happen. You will do a task, you will be paid by hourly rate, end of story. But if you think through business problem perspective, you resolve some problem, and you create some solution. So here's a need or niche for data science in particular, where it could step in this value chain. Relationship based, maybe it's not about type of scope of services, it's much more about how you are treated, so that you have repeatable business. So with whom you are friends, who like to work with you, why, it's some high quality they receive from you, it's some nice geography, it's some trusted architect, or maybe trusted instructor if it's B2C business. So that depends, and indicator of success here is repeatable business, and client receive not just what he pays for, but something extra, some extra mile, in terms of quality, timing, whatever. Could be differentiator, could be any. And trust basis. So basically, there's so-called safe haven for hard issues. Yeah, I'm not talking about playing golf together here, but that's also the story. But you treat client not as enterprise, but you treat client as an individual. Big 4 consultancy companies, big top 3, McKinsey, Bain, Boston Consulting Group, works at that level, and they charge the highest fee. So if you want to read more about service-based business, because what you are starting here is service, unless you're creating your own startup, if you will be working with some enterprises or startups on your use cases, I would say this matrix, this table is important, because you can understand what you can give, what you can receive, what client can give, what client can receive. Client, I mean, it could be internal client, like yesterday we had brainstorm, chief digital officer. You are part of chief digital officer team, or you create your own chief digital officer team, or you give advice for your client from USA or from Europe. That depends on you, or you give advice to your shareholders in small business, or you pitch something to your partner who co-finance ideas with you. Everything depends, and if you want to deep dive, there is some more details in this book. It's not new, it's not even 2000 years earlier, but majority of consultants read this book by David Meister, and there are so-called intimacy equation, etc., etc., etc. So please, this part is not in the slides. I just remembered as an important topic I would like to share, especially taking into account that you are learning in masters that are frequently service-based services, which will be provided based on your education, knowledge, or whatever. So please go deep dive. It will be good to read as a recommendation. Why I pitch up on this point here? Because usually project manager, to some extent, he is a to some extent, project manager is trusted advisor, or can become trusted advisor, and sorry, it's not that section. Moment. And how you build relations inside the team with your internal customer or external customer, that's about skill set. And there are so-called must-have. You need to be able to plan, you need to be able to control, to motivate the team. So some inherent minimum as a project manager, you need to acquire and to develop. You need to be certified sometimes. You need to understand different technologies from project management perspective. You need to advise if you should go through waterfall or agile, if agile, which agile. If agile, it's 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. All this matter. And basically, there are some skills which are nice to have. And for me, this trusted advisor skill is definitely nice to help a project manager, especially if you're working with external clients, because it helps to cross-sell, to develop relations, develop business, and sustain it. Why sustain? Competition is nearby. It's not waiting for anyone. So something extra can help you. Plus, project success rates is not so high. These are some reports. I cannot recall the year, but you can see the numbers. It's success. It's failure. I think in that report there were some range how they split medium from large, but you see the numbers. So why find different perspectives, external, internal dependencies, but this nice to have being good advisor can help you. Plus it can help you to achieve outcome basically.
Main outcome is for me make small projects.
Small project. No 5 years transformational.
Yeah, but just split projects into small pieces. Make separate projects.
Yes, agree, if that's possible. But some projects could not be small. Never.
And what the hell you need that project if you cannot complete it? So, I mean, you just
But fail
wasted your time.
But the failure is on time, on budget. Was that factor
It's subject how you do milestone planning. For example, what we did in SoftServe, it's not a secret information, it's public. Company has 20 plus years, and internal infrastructure were based on different applications. Integration was specifically done different ways. I'm not integration manager. And recently we implemented MuleSoft as a platform. That's API management platform. When you can connect different applications between. When business is scaling, like 40% per year, it's huge. You are doing just operating, firefighting, you're not building everything like this. So 40%, it's almost half a double, yeah, strong percent. So system enterprise architecture need to be enhanced, and it was around 2 years project to implement this MuleSoft integration platform. For sure, it has a part. I'm connecting Workday with MuleSoft, not my firm. We are connecting reporting system, accounting systems. So entire project is 2 years, because outcome should be all is integrated via MuleSoft API management integration platform. But milestone are different. So yes, some SAP implementation. I never heard that SAP implementation were 2 years, less than 2-3 years for reasonable size enterprises. It's not possible at all. For example, if you are changing ERP from one to another. So yes, I would agree, 2 months, 3 months, half a year, done, go, but that's not... CapEx projects, let us forget about IT projects. Imagine Ukrainian post service or Ukrainian Zaliznytsia. You want to transform. Yeah, you will create portfolio, but some legal contracts or some, for example, unbundling, when you need to split system from the production itself. It's for years. It's not just one project, but purpose is unbundling, yeah, because it's required by European Union. So it's not so easy task. It's not such. Imagine acquisition. Another typical story. One bank requires another. It's typical story even now. It's typical for Amazon, for Google. If you acquire something, you need to manage that company. You need to do diagnostic, what you will be merging, what you will be splitting, how you will be merging. Maybe, for example, front line will be separate. Here we have calls, there we have some email support. I'm doing simplifying examples. But you need to consolidate some counting for these two entities. Oh, I think that's more than a year, more than 2 to some extent. Huge transformational projects. We split it for pieces, but it's not so easy. Therefore, some statistics here. Good project manager should try to achieve the highest success rate as possible, but it's not always possible. Some just core requirements: leadership, communication, soft skills, technical skills, influential and motivational skills. So I think each project manager is different, but if I would hire one, I would be doing very scrutiny job. whom I hire for any project, even small one. Practical advices, these are different, but this stuff is crucial. Usually a lot of managers are not IT proficient, so they need to be able at least to identify the dependency and engage proper management from IT side or from managers who have IT exposures. What else is important? For me is this, and preparing work breakdown structure is a must. And reasonable approach to inform or not inform on risk issues forever. I would say this is the core. And then having this criteria, you can do proper hire procedures, development procedures, and criteria to ensure successful program and project implementation. Why it's here in this section? Because it will be project manager who will do it in the end. He or she is the boss, even if there are any boards, advisory board, or wherever. He, she is the only one person who really is in context, in content, and can step in and advise and change the scope wherever. Question on project manager's profile.
What does failure look like?
Sorry?
What does failure look like?
Failure? Not in budget, not in time, not completed project, anything.
No, I know. I mean, like, what are the kind of common traps, the common ways that people fail in this job?
Common ways people say?
Yeah, these are the secrets to success. What's the secret to failure?
Not structured thinking, not ability to think structure, you know. Hear and listen. The person should be able to hear and listen. Sometimes just listen, not hear, so it's common. Soft. First one is a more logical one. Second one is a soft. What else? The other dependent from when you hire someone to a project which requires some technical context, business context, and this person completely from other domain. Time needed to reshape thinking logic or whatever. What else, guys, ladies? What do you think on the questions? Typical failures in profile and approach. No ideas? Tired?
I think you're right.
Share. No problem?
You know, there is a book, famous book for project management.
PM book.
No. It's some kind of not business. It's not business. It's not fiction. A book, about project manager. I think it's called Human Factors. About the project manager. So what's really, let's say, it outlines what is the project management, what is a good project management.
And lessons learned based on have you read that book?
Yes.
It exists, I read. So share just 2-3 examples. What are your views or what book says?
To be honest, I don't remember what exactly the book says.
What do you think?
When I was, let's say, deep in this area, so I remember that I found yes. It's let's say met my experience. Yeah.
Cool.
So here, let's say a lot of things I can share. So if it's failure, number one, project management is communication. So any lack of communication, bad communication, this is a failure. Right? So either with the customer, either with the team, whatever. So this is the key, because especially usually in the IT, where also, let's say, people not also very good in communication, it's crucial. So between business, team, within the team also, yeah. Also very crucial to do the right thing, even if you, let's say, as a person don't want to do this. If somebody doesn't perform well, you need to solve the issue, yeah. So don't immediately, yeah. So don't delay decisions, yeah. Communicate the statuses, yeah, the right, yeah. Even if it's, let's say, will be not good now for customer, it's much more better to communicate it now as soon as possible.
So being tough.
Yeah, be tough, yeah, be stress resistant, yeah, be good communicator, yeah. So.
And yeah, you remember me one more. It's usual case when project manager will receive enormous information inflow. He or she needs to produce information outflow also. So there will be a lot of noise around, and the trap is having reasonability, knowledge, experience. Could be lifetime experience, could be professional experience, to split what is important and what is not so important. In real life situation, you never ever can cover everything. It's impossible unless you are working in a relaxed mode and your environment is mature. So a lot of stuff, and you need to be very selective and conduct proper due diligence. True or false approach, to do true or false approach, especially when different people say to you different things, which is happen.
From the customer.
From team, from customer. So maybe you summarize that as communication umbrella, but I'm splitting this from some logical skills to split complex issues to simple and coming back. So huge elephants, small elephants. So in the dedukcja in Ukrainian.
Yes.
So that's one skill. But I'm talking here about more like not investigator or detective skills, but when you talk with people, try to understand their psychotype, if they are emotional, not emotional. Because when you have this huge information inflow, you need to produce some outflow. For example, you need to go to status of the client and to business analysts saying different messages to you. Oh, everything failed, we are not done, or everything is okay. You should be able to understand where is it true. Through A, you need to understand the contents, work breakdown structure, what we are doing, where. So not just managing, but really being understandable to business context. And you need to understand personalities around you. For example, last year, December, one of my consultants was saying that everything is bad in the project. Nothing planned, nothing existent. So it took me another 3 calls with head of engineering for the project, with PM, with delivery director to understand that it's not bad. So by all means, I need to trust to her because she's my consultant. All these guys are not mine. But you need to pick up the risk. Could not be this is the case. Maybe she's new joiner, maybe she's not so proficient as she pitched herself to us. So in this case, you need to trust your team by default. That's reasonable, but in the you need to do extra mile to understand others and see that it's not true, basically. Otherwise, you will escalate something that is not true. So here, it's about mix of understanding personality, able to do investigation, small one, and pick up right point out of 10 available. That's important for project manager, I think. What else we missed?
Support and challenge team, yeah, because yes, it's correctly word, yeah, challenging team, because people often, yeah, don't want to do something, yeah, or don't do it in the right way, yeah, but that's why you also need some kind of push it, yeah, from your side, yeah. Also, you shall be under, let's say, of course, to have this big picture, yeah, in your head and to be under the fight, yeah, so not to be involved, because I also saw examples when people actually forget that they managers, yeah, so they're very good, very emotionally in the product, yeah, and when, let's say, from project point of view, it's already went in the wrong way, yeah, but they cannot stop, yeah, because they like the project, yeah, or...
So be emotionally detached? No? Too much?
Yes. You shall be, how do you call it? Be cool.
Just relates to everything. Cold-minded.
Yes, cold-minded, yeah, and skeptic, yeah, professionally skeptic, yeah. So you need to understand, okay, this is the people, okay, this is the situation, okay.
This is the project.
I think there's a lot.
This is my decision.
I think there's a lot and maybe too much, but that reality is that the complex project, the higher scale project it is, the more skills are needed. And one more like flavor, it's not about being able to do something or whatever, it's cross-cultural, multi-country. Must, because if you are talking, for example, with some CEO from UK, it's another one behavior. If you're talking with CEO from USA, that's the other. So topics of interest is different. You need to pick up their agenda, language issues. Even if it's CEO from Ukraine, CEO from state-owned enterprise, differ from CEO of multinational enterprise, CEO of local business, and CEO of whatever, head of unit from public body who is policy making. So these four profiles are completely different, being both, all four being CEOs. And if you, if you didn't pick up the level of discussion for C-level topics you are covering, and cultural differences, the country, geography, or maturity of enterprise. Maturity of enterprise we covered on day one, so Frederick, you will be lost. So that's also, in any step you can have a fail, but doing homework can save you, hopefully.
Also one funny story about the language issues. So one of our developers, he did some kind of functionality, and he, let's say, wanted to use some short name, yeah, let's say for some variable. It was like back analysis, full name, and he did a shortcut.
I'm listening, sorry.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I see this later.
What was Let us hear some story.
I think everybody understood already, yeah?
I missed, okay. It was not good for
So it was back analysis variable, yeah, and he did a shortcut, yeah, and then it was, and he put this also in some mails, yeah, and I think he even was some kind of in the blacklist, yeah, because of inappropriate.
So spam
yeah, that's simple story. Like a friend of mine who is managing products in software, like products. He's doing more BA role, but basically as a product owner from customer side and challenge soft-serve team members. So soft-serve, usually you can do short name SS. And they were serving some German client or whatever, and they prepared documentation and say just assess, it was total. I was not employee at the time. I was not working for software, but he said, the relations with clients were on the edge because of that, being assassin German stuff. So, but it happens. It's not about project manager, but project manager should be the person who pick up such issue. Who else will pick up detailed text in documentation? Nobody. Engineers will not do it, and BAs will not do it, and designers will not do it. So, simple stories, complex stories. I hope it was an answer for your question.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I would rely on project managers because these are persons through whom you can scale small or bigger business. Otherwise, you could be blocked in the realization of your initiatives and business cases. So last session was planned on PMO, and I still would like you spend up to 7 minutes in 2 groups, please. Yes, last session, and draft pros and cons to set up a PMO or do management of the projects without a PMO, project management office. So, dedicated project management office inside enterprise or without dedicated project management office. Pros and cons.
It depends.
Pros and cons. Please, 2 groups, 7 minutes.
It depends on maturity.
Yeah, please draft and present your messages. That's really important. It's last class, sorry. You will join the group, Alina? So you can select an options. For example, we create PMO in enterprise. Pros and cons. Or we do not create the PMO, pros and cons. Select your assumption. And we will wrap up on that. Project management office.
А что, может, когда пополам надо поделить?
Вот тут нормально.
Не, мы хотим играть.
Вы change team. Ви сьогодні розглядали процеси проєктного менеджменту, такі самі.
Количество проектов.
Речь идет о ситуации,
Ні, ну ми різні. На те можемо. Ні, тут персонально.
у нас есть
З маленьких компаній розподіляємо. Ми можемо не запускати.
Короче, у нас есть куча проектов. Есть проекты, да, то есть вопрос. То есть в общем нужен первый.
Я бы сказал, что это значит,
Так, як скажу.
А як тоді прочитав, що вже якісь екстра ресерчі, чи ти якісь там?
Я покажу.
Такий молодець.
Я роблю просто ресерч на тему цього, як це все робиться.
таким образом, это преимущество.
Кто-то должен оценивать, да.
Дивно, я дивуюся, що з тим вони продвинули. Чуваки хочуть, щоб ти купував продукти, тобі говорити, так? Те, що ти казав, стартап, СААС і конференційні. Платити вже сьогодні місячно, це важко. Модель важка. Але ти маєш доступ до вички Морган і ти їм продав.
Так, це скажімо, цінність карти, як, скажімо, в системі комп'ютерів, в системі будівельних. Це не шляхет, це не скоріше, це enterprise рішення, яке не фіксує по задачі.
Можеш продати HR консалтинг вищий рівень в якомусь чи хитині, там, людині організації.
Я вийшов на цю Deloitte українському.
Ну, там є практика.
HR, цього числа спільна дискусія, я не знаю, або як адвайзера. Я вірю, що це, як, знаєш, як люди заходять, як консультанти,
Але потім не зразу, коли вже роблять підхід, коли пояснять, чому це треба. Ну, на першій фазі навіть, не на другій, третій. Або заходять на наступний бізнес, ринок, вже комп'ютер з 5 іншими рішеннями. Я що виберу в рефішні, то що стабілізоване і надійне, а не ну,
Я бы сказал, что...
правильно, якщо я потрачу мільйон. Короче, я б хотіла працювати. Я практично критичні, це технічно стейдом ентерпрайзом, що їм треба міняти процеси. Шукати гроші. Може я
Ні, у нас все таке не зробили. Я просто знаю, що я слухаю подкасти, які люди проблеми, працюють, які спеціалісти по в Америці, там де великі компанії, просто взагалі середовище великі компанії, зовсім нічого, зовсім специфіка навіть європейську дуже сильно відрізняє. Європа, знаєш, вона в деяких аспектах дуже так повільно йде. Навіть великі гіганти, скажімо, IT, технологія, автомотів, все одно вони доволі традиційний бізнес насправді, і вони так
Ну,
дуже
це
обачно.
ж наш студентами, це ж саме піар. Ні, ну вони там роблять. Вони можуть зробити маленькі кроки і зекономити мільйони. Але це інший рівень зв'язку, прям чесно. Але також ринок. Знаєш, що Софія була в Рисах. Вона в тусовці всяких там з Могилянцями, з іншими, з твоїми книжками. Потім вона приїхала в Лондон на якусь паблік програму, паблік поліція, візіонерська. Приїхала, вона пішла в заступником мистецького арсеналу, директорши. Я забула, що теж. Який директор? Така, вона візіонерська дівчина, вона була частиною реформаторів. Тобто, ну, у мене щоб бути замдиректора в арсеналі, це зникається. І зараз вона написала, що за закрите середовище донорських заяв. Ну, майже такі 20, що вже 25-ту подання, мене на співбесіді відбувають. Тож, я не можу навіть бути закінчити. Що це закрите ком'юніті? З юкеївським вузом, з 20
Ні, в Україні,
Юрик, тепер
Ми
хто?
все одно списуйте з нами.
Окей,
А где мы будем брать это?
please proceed.
Так, давай делай правильно.
Авторитарний голос. А в якій ви індустрії працювали бізнесом? Як казали, всі леви?
Металлургия.
А, в Лескемі.
Энергетика. А?
В Лескемі, так?
Да.
А, ясно. Там конкурентні такі умови. В Донецьку ви жили? Ви в Донецьку були?
Так.
7 років. Ну, я туди їздила на проекти регулярно. Ще до 2016.
16?
Ну, ні, може 15.
Тому вже сталися майданівські події,
Ну, тоді,
а
sorry,
потім
до
14-го
До Майдану.
вже мої колеги, вони виїжджали з
До Майдану, 100%. Ну, ми тоді якийсь проект робили для інвестівської безпеки. Там з безпеки був саме жорсткий проект. Ми робили там діагностику, лідерного контролі, превеншн. І хедом безпеки був мужчина, якого потім звільнили по підозрі в фронті. Я не пам'ятаю прізвище. Але це реально такі непрості бізнесові умови, все так доволі жорстко. Порівняно з тим же Києвом, там гукнеш, таф. Не?
Всюди є свій так.
Sharing.
2 minutes and let us finish. You did. You reshaped the team. You connected. So it's not like you.
7 minutes budget, 5 minutes cost. We'll take those 2 minutes and bonus.
Yeah, that's up to you.
We can start.
Who is the first one? Silence.
Good with that one. I've done one less than one. 2 minutes.
Please.
BMOS, ProSpons, Admin Support Bureaucracy.
Please present.
Guys, actually, we would like World 4 PMO structure.
Okay.
Why? Because it helps to nurture and to increase project culture over the whole company. They can start from admin support, like a meeting appointment and making kind of documentation support. Then they can do templates and methodology for internal use for all company. Also they can provide trainings of the methodology. Then they can provide like automated tool that will support project management like Network Server or something like that, Spider or whatever else. Actually, company may have a lots of projects, and PMO can handle like alignment of various project deliverables, interlink them just to get a logical program to be developed. Also through templates and methodology and tools, they propagate like best practice through all the company, and also they may be responsible for knowledge base establishment and support. So starting the project, you can get like entire steps are done previously just to review knowledge base, so all the projects company. And through that, they also like provide professional approach to the project management. Sometimes even PMO team, sometimes PMO team can manage a business project. But yes, nevertheless, never taking into account like the pros. There are maybe several cons. PMO approach may be over bureaucratic, so they may be inflexible, and thus they can support approach where form is over the substance. They may be subject matter incompetent, so they are just project managers or project admins, not a business, not business guys, and also taking into account all above, they can like give no inspiration and propagate like our team culture.
Okay. Thank you. Let us listen to the second group and wrap up. So in brief, you are for PMO. You are okay.
So I would say that if we speak about PMO, nothing to add to this group. If we speak about cons, non-PMO structure, pros and cons non-PMO structure, then I would say that if we do not have PMO, normally it is a small company with limited number of projects. Means that in this situation, the project manager will be appointed. The person who came with the idea will be a project manager. It means that the guy or lady he or she has enough domain knowledge, and probably it allows to take the responsibility and drive the project to the end.
So it's cons?
This is pros. Pros for small company, okay. Not to have PMO, but to stick to the.
Got it.
But we started also with PMO. This is first pros. Another pros, of course, it is cheaper because less overhead and less. For cons point of view, yeah, it's knowledge is very, very important. The best practice, most probably not available without PMO. Cannot be available without PMO. Project portfolio, it is another challenge to manage without PMO. Almost impossible, I think. And of course, contextualization, but budgeting follow-up of the project will be different from one project to another.
So what would you recommend? In that engineering?
Depends. If you speak about Paris restaurant, of course, without.
However, that was not an assumption given by me before that.
But it depends on the size of the business and the size of the project.
Okay.
Actually, yes. I read kind of business literature. First of all, it says that it is not common to give PMO guys to run real business projects. So real business projects are run by real business guys, like marketing manager, like sales manager, or financial managers, or IT manager, or whatever. So PMO does only support them in terms of methodology and so on. And the need for PMO arises when your projects within the entire organization are mostly they are mostly failed. So they are not complete successful.
So it's a pain management.
So PMO is needed when it is paid. Yeah. And then the next step is they are trying to establish in place and methodology for your projects, just to ensure that all projects are controllable and are done properly. It's like driver rules. Yeah. You know them and you obey them and you drive the car, and this is always your risk that you will be in a bad situation on the road. That's the same approach. That's not guarantee that you will not fail, but in any case, it's better to have than
You will know who's guilty.
yeah. Everyone is guilty.
Thank you. I think there's a story about car. Great story to do some parallels. Basically, yes, it really depends. Let me wrap up a bit and maybe add some 2 or 3 flavors, which is important. PMO model, that's another story. Like 2 minutes later. Pros and cons for organization. I'm not saying about PMO model, which is administrator office only, for business drive, or office. Alignment between the projects, not just between, but also it could be the place where you can align between your strategy and your strategic KPIs and the portfolio you have. Because either it should be some C-level who align 10 VP between themselves, or either it could be PMO who do understand much more details and advise that, listen, project A, B, and C are competitive, or they are concurrent, or they are whatever. They are not up to the time. It's like advisor role, potential advisor role. Another topic which should be managed on the project level and on the portfolio level is trade-off analysis. Why? Because my task was about enterprise, generic enterprise. Because sometimes you want to do more than you can afford. And you need to align head of units, head of offices, head of functions between themselves. So if they are initiators, you need to understand who will be the first one, how that fits to conflicting interest, for example, to automate, to change all back office system for accounting, or you need to create a new CRM system for front office management. Yeah? So trade-off analysis, there are different methods of trade-off analysis. Only even a separate mini course. It could be done between the projects before you accepting them to go live, to go green, or it could be trade-off. And as another option, it's trade-off analysis inside the project. For example, you have a great idea, company say yes, go, but inside the projects, head of units, for example, have different views. How it should be done, what should be done. Especially this typical case for business versus IT, but it also could be business versus business. So one line of function saying, I want IT, the service should be built like this. The other function saying, it's possible, that's too complex. My back office will not cope with that. So when you need to do cross office alignment, cross departmental alignment, ruin the walls, PMO, not just only PMO, it could be both of these 5 heads. But PMO could be a good advisor, arbiter, or if there is advisor or arbiter beyond the PMO, it could calculate some detailed guidance through cost perspectives, revenue perspectives, because people in PMO do understand how much it could cost, or which risk it could bring, compared with the accounting department, who really know the numbers, but who lacks project management flavors usually. So basically there are following types of PMO. Magic. Yes. project-wide, project-wide. Project is rare but possible, or it could be like center of excellence, where you just receive advices, templates, and some best practices. That depends. Definitely not shared service center unless you are doing some archiving stuff or documentation stuff only. But the model is really different, and you need to build the model that best suits you. So you can do small diagnostics and small advisory projects. If you see that you have more than 10 projects or more than 25 projects, wherever, subject to your context, you can develop a vision how your PMO will look like, which function it will handle, if it will be like methodology center or educational center. If it's low maturity enterprise, as Igor said, maybe it will be educational center for 5 to 10 managers or head of departments. You remember my example where I shared this huge transformation project, this 50 projects. So we decided not to create PMO because it will be bureaucratic burden. We rather spend time for education and for knowledge sharing. It was win-win. They needed it immediately. We charge fees for that, yeah, as a project fees. So it depends, and basically components differ, as I said, but methodological component is one of the crucial components. If it's a huge scale, you can go to automation. Automation usually also different, free tools, non-free tools, and some composers like planning tools, templates, depends. I would sketch this PMO view with top stakeholders in the company at the C-level or VP level if it's divisional PMO, or if it's if you're a vendor, you have account for whom you work, you have 10 projects. You could align which will be your model for these 10 projects for this specific account, and you can even sell it. For example, build small PMO for money. Yes, it's value-add service, so that client employees do not spend their time for 10 projects, and they are not thinking through umbrella, oh, come on, how I need to manage that. It depends. So think through, not through risk, but through opportunities. Even working for foreign clients, it could help, but it should be very rigorously built. Nothing is excessive, it's not bureaucracy. It's built through value lens, otherwise it could fail. What else? And just an example about PMO structure and content. So not a value chain maybe, but just core blocks. And then you can fill each block with some content. So on one page you present which functions or blocks will be in your PMO. Some time perspective, it's fixed, it's just a project or portfolio. Some governance perspective, to whom PMO reports, how head of PMO is selected, which type of profile this guy or lady will be, like its methodologies, or it's pure business guy who will then switch after PMO to some big transformational project or function. So you need to think one step in advance what you will do when you finish doing the projects. Because it happens that you just need it for half a year or a year, where you can utilize as persons, or as an option. It's a good option when you want to scale your team, even at enterprises. You see that there is great VP whom you cannot onboard now, so you can give him PMO, check, test him, and then based on really project management exposure, embed him or her with your core business, because now after half a year he or she really knows business context. So models are different, depends from your creativity. Toolkit we already covered today. It's more about methodology, which forms should be in place. For example, minutes of meeting for banking sector is crucial. Also, board minute of meeting, that's as a must. Without minutes of meeting, nothing starts. But if you are informal or more or less small business, no need for you to create some templates or meeting minutes or whatever. What else is important? I think that's all. We covered project management profession, and today I think we are done. A bit earlier if you any questions, we could do it now. Otherwise, good Saturday evening is yours.
I just add something.
Yeah.
Just my expression on the project management.
So Jenny is our guest.
Yeah, I also studied project management in the past in Canada, and one thing I just want to add. So it always depends on the complexity on the project. The largest contributor to project management as a skill or as a specialization was NASA. And why is it so?
Jenny, you can step out.
Yeah, I'm fine here. Currently we have project management certification. PMI Institute gives you this certification, but we should understand this certification specifically for like large complex project. If you are dealing with a small project, so you don't need this certification. So basically, military and NASA was the biggest contributor to this thing. So this is kind of a commercialized version of military approach to managing the project. So
Commercialized.
Yeah.
What about we had interesting discussion this agile approach and R&D approach. Who created that?
Yeah, also
Sure.
both actually, product management and project management. So project management, it's about the timeline, it's about how, but product management, it's about what should be, what's about the version of this project, what's about the evolution of this project, how we study from each iteration of the project. So this is about product management. So NASA was the biggest contributor. Actually, the Soviet Union helped to evolve this discipline because United States government invested so super heavily into this competition. So now we have all of these approaches.
So thanks to war.
If I understood correctly, you say that project management and product management something
Different.
Okay. So I agree with you. I mean, if I understand correctly, product management, it is not about product development. It is stable function. It exists on a business as usual basis.
Product manager was first established by a Procter & Gamble company. More like marketing thing, just manage many projects simultaneously, how they develop branding and so on, more marketing field. But NASA took this approach and applied to technical products. So they developed so many things just to assemble the rocket. So you need to develop so many things, like super heavily. Super complex and super heavy projects. And Hewlett-Packard took their expertise and applied to consumer electronics. And now we have agile approach, more iterative approaches. So combined with understanding the markets and technical expertise, so we can develop this stuff. So something like this.
Okay. If I may, when we say project management, we understand this function in the same way in IT, in NASA, and in Hewlett-Packard.
Correct. You can,
but if we say product management, it is different.
Both, but different approach. Project management, it's about managing the backlog, for example, in IT. But product management defines what should be in that backlog. So product management understand the market, understand the competition, marketing stuff, and so on. But project management, it's more like we have this task. So I need to execute the task. So this is about the managing the risks and the product execution.
So yeah, just the framework I shared with you. So I think country plan, duplicate. Here we go. Pragmatic marketing environment. So it's about a lot here is product management, and really that you need things from market, strategy, for whom, why, business case, and only then realization. Otherwise, you have no products. So messages here. A friend of mine, Alex, she usually worked near my Kyiv for Procter & Gamble factory. She was chief process analyst, something like this, and message from her was like, really, P&G, it's about marketing for 90% and the rest is production. So we create something, we test it numerously. If this test paste is okay, not okay. If it's taste for Angola is one taste, for Russia will be another taste. So we experiment numerously, and only when we are okay, here, we go and produce. So PNG is, marketing and holding, and production is like this end of the value chain.
But here, on the top of product management, we have also product owner.
That's a pragmatic marketing. It's bolder. It's bolder.
Okay.
So product owner, as I showed you today, this business product owner. Usually in Ukraine, product owner also manage backlog. But in broad messages, product owner should be the person who really understands business needs, who can feed what should be done, what should not be done, how much it costs, so it's bolder. It's just a framework. There are different certifications, as I said. As you see, product strategist, product marketing manager, product owner, requirements management, user scenarios, sales engineer. So these are puzzles, but it's definitely much more broader than project management. Thank you. So, free evening, half an hour earlier than planned. Thank you. It was a great day. See you tomorrow, 9. And have a rest.
Thank you.